Alright, it's US Championship weekend, as well as about 100 other countries. One of the most thrilling competitions of the year. It doesn't matter who you are, how fast you are, how decorated you are. If you don't finish top 3, you're not going to the World Championships. And my gosh, did we see a lot of that over the last 3 days.
The goose is falling and feeding!
Almost everything about the men's 100 meter race was unexpected.
Good start for Coleman again. Here comes Bednarek trying to move to the front. It is very close as we come to the line. Bednarek takes it!
How fast it was, who made the team, who didn't make the team, which NCAA athlete would threaten the title, and which high schooler would make the final. But you know what was expected? Noah Lyles trying his best to look unimpressed as possible.
I love this shot right here.
And Noah Lyles looking on.
He's like, all right, enough said. I understand the assignment.
Come on man, that was wild from start to finish. A win legal 9.79 now makes Bednarek the 12th equal fastest athlete of all time, tied with Noah Lyles and Maurice Green, as well as the magical 9.7, giving him some credibility as a possible title contender this year, because to challenge Koech, as we know, you have to be running this fast. But what I didn't expect was how close everyone would be behind a 9.79. It was basically a blanket finish between 5 athletes. Nor did I expect Courtney Lindsay or Tamars Mclaughlin to beat Trayvon Bromell for the 3rd spot. In fact, I've downplayed the both of them all season, and especially Tamars Mclaughlin. To be fair though, for good reason, sure Mclaughlin has run fast this year, an illegal 9.83 and a legal 19.73 in the 200. But truthfully, we have seen fast times by NCAA athletes at random meets all year. I don't even know if we can take NCAA time seriously after this season. But even with times this fast, can you tell me what place he came at the NCAA Championships? Probably not unless you're a mega fan, because he came 5th in the 200 meter with a 20.16 seconds and 8th in the 100 with 10.24. And you know what that told me before trials? Basically, he can't handle rounds well. So somehow with a shocking NCAA finals at Haywood Field, at the US Champs, at Haywood Field, he runs a personal best every round in the 100 meters, en route to this 3rd place in 9.83. Anyone who said they saw Tamars doing this at the trials was ignoring the entire rest of his season. This is as close to a fairy tale performance as it gets. But of course, when someone is living the dream, someone has to be living a nightmare. And that's Coleman and Bromell, 9.84 and 9.86, to miss out on the team. That's an insane statement already. But do you know statistically how unlikely that is? Before today, apparently impossible. Historically, you run 9.86 or faster at the US trials, you make every other team ever. The poor bastards. And this Reddit post really just sums it up. And I will say, while this 9.79 indicates good things for Bednarek, most likely meaning similar times are probably in the tank, a 1.8 tailwind, while legal, is pretty hefty. And I don't want to rag on athletes, well, I kind of do, that's what I always do, but Lindsay and Tamars aren't the most consistent athletes. Of course, I'm happy to be proven otherwise when it comes to championship time, but regardless of what we saw this weekend, I really do think Koech still has the edge on everyone. And additionally, here's to hoping that either Bromell or Coleman can get the Diamond League wildcard spot. And while the men's 100 meter was completely unpredictable, the women's were almost the complete opposite. I think everyone had Melissa Jefferson-Wooden to absolutely smash these trials, and that's exactly what she did.
The Nike women's 100 meters is off. She has grabbed control of this race, and she is separating. Her dominant season continues. 10.65!
10.65, bounding away in those closing stages. That's the 5th equal fastest time of all time, equaling Marion Jones, Sharika Jackson, and Sha'Carri Richardson. Now that's exciting. Now supposedly, even if a peak Sha'Carri Richardson finds her way to the World's Finals, it's not certain if she'll even be the fastest American, let alone the world champ. In my eyes, Jefferson has been such a peculiar case this year. She was running incredible times at Grand Slam, and has managed to follow through all the way this year and just keeps getting faster. I thought maybe it was a weirdly timed peak for a fat bag of imaginary Michael Johnson money, but I've been proven well wrong. Also finishing in 2nd with 10.84 was Kayla White, and her story shares some similarities to Mclaughlin's. She's a part of Star Athletics and is Jefferson's training partner. And in a video I saw earlier this week, they showed one of their last block workouts before USA's. And just watch this shit. White was sticking to Jefferson like glue, rep after rep. And that raised my eyebrows. So I kept an eye on her through the rounds of trials, 10.89 in the heats, 10.92 after almost face planting, and then clearing away the 2nd place finisher in the final. Prior to these trials, besides this one training session, there was no indication she was going to be this fast. She ran 3 of her fastest times ever en route to second place at this trials. Just another fairy tale story behind the first place finisher. And I don't often talk about coaches, I'm actually pretty green when it comes to that side of pro athletics, but Dennis Mitchell has been doing numbers. At USA trials between the men and women's 100 meter, there were 6 available spots. His athletes took 4 of them. And if you widen the scope a little bit, he actually almost took all of them. Both Coleman and TT Terry are a part of that squad, narrowly missing out. We also know just how well his athletes did last year at the Olympics, so it's pretty safe to say we're probably going to be seeing even faster times at the World Champs. Last week, I said this about Sydney Mclaughlin-Levrone. Forget the idea of Polino vs Nasser vs Mclaughlin at the World Champs. She has to make it past the US trials first.
Sydney Mclaughlin-Levrone already making up the stacks. So far, Sydney in the lead. Sydney Mclaughlin-Levrone, 2 golds in the relay. Sydney Mclaughlin-Levrone as she stretches out her lead and will stretch towards the line.
I think I might just be stupid. I know she's the second fastest American woman over 400 meters ever, but in 2025, whether it's the 400 meter or 400 hurdles, she hasn't been looking great, hence the fact that this leaderboard exists. But after this finals, it's kind of horrifying how quickly she can go from 49 mid to jogging the last 70 meters and still running sub 50.
Cruise control Sydney. Sydney Mclaughlin-Levrone with an easy 49.5.
That was a 70 meter shutdown. And then when she put in a little more effort, she absolutely destroyed the final. To be fair, both Whitaker and Butler, the 2 athletes who were seeded faster, made the team, but McLaughlin wasn't even fighting at the end of this race. She's undoubtedly got more to give. It's also 100% confirmed she's going all out on the 400 meters this year.
Would you consider trying to get the wild card in the 400 spike first?
No, we'll focus just on the 400, yeah.
She's been able to run sub 49 3 times, and she's done that while basically running the event casually between her 400 meter hurdle races. It's mouth-watering to think. Just how fast can she go in half a year of dedicated running? And the men's 400 meter wasn't particularly crazy. Quincy Wilson went out in the heats looking like a fish out of water, and at 17, I hope he doesn't beat himself up too much. He looks like he's grown physically and has added some mass, and it's hard to continue improving past such a world-class level when your body's not even stopped changing yet. And with Quincy Hall out, Ja'Cory Patterson would yoink the title in a pretty standard time for a US championship.
His first U.S. title outdoors, and he's going to do it with style.
Now, the men's 1500 meter was diabolical. It's pretty clear who was expected to make the team. Nuguse, running his usual race up front, making sure it's an honest pace to kill the hopeful sitting kickers. Kessler running a smart race, sticking to someone who'd expect to make the team, and Hocker doing his usual business. And entering the bell lap, the pace was a projected 3:30. Which you might find yourself scoffing at after all the 3:27s we've seen this year, but that's blazing championship racing. Yet somehow, with a pace as hot as this, there's still 8 athletes tightly packed fighting for the front. This was looking scary. On the back straight, Strand and Koech make moves on the outside, initially clearing Hocker. With less than 200 to go around the final bend, they get even more aggressive, overtaking and getting in front of Nuguse and Kessler. And if you pause the race here, this picture speaks 1,000 words. Kessler and Nuguse looking tight in both face and body. Strand and Koech, strides looking long and powerful. I don't think anyone wanted to believe it, but from this point, we all knew what was coming.
And feeding as Strand, but it is Koech, Strand, and Hocker.
My depth of knowledge in the 1500 meter isn't particularly deep, but I knew who Ethan Strand was. He's run a couple NCAA records. He came second this year in the 1500 meters at the NCAA Championships in the wackiest race you'll ever see. But to come second in this race, he had to run a 3-second PR. I can't say I expected this, and I won't lie to you at all, but even looking at Koech's profile, I had no idea who this guy is, and he just won the fastest 1500 meter USA title in history. Similar to Coleman and Bromell, any other year, Nuguse and Kessler's 3:31 would have made the team. In fact, prior to 2024, it would have won every single other US championship. Because not only did Koech break the US championship meet record, so did Strand and Hocker too. It doesn't get any more brutal than that. In the women's 100 hurdles, Russel continues her streak of winning only when it matters. She's now the 2024 US champion, 2024 Olympic champion, and the 2025 US champion.
It's on the outside, but it is all Russel.
But out of 8 races this year, she's only won 3. Also, her time of 12:22 was the 7th fastest time ever recorded, now owning 2 of the fastest 7 times ever. And I would love to yap about Chase Jackson, but on stream, I swear to God, I only saw this singular throw. And yeah, I was in the bootleg delayed Russian stream. We didn't even get the numbers on screen to tell us how far she threw it. It was 20.84 meters, by the way. Jackson is consistently putting up throws 20 centimeters further than any other athlete in the last decade. Rumor has it, she was also thrown with a slightly injured finger and has thrown 21 meters in training.
Bits and pieces in it. Like, I just want to throw 21 already though. I've done it. I've done it, okay? I swear.
I don't know what spurred on these types of big throws. She's just kind of nailed it the last month. And if she carries it through, she's going to be untouchable. And at the Greek champs, Karalis finally made that jump I've been praying for. You guys know, I've been manifesting this man to greater heights for a while now, and I'm taking the credit. 6.08 meters, and from the looks of it, absolutely demolished the height, at least 6.15 in the tank. I will admit though, he did scrape it on the way down, but with how the bar is placed in the pole vault, that doesn't really tend to affect making heights anyway. And that was my little quickie on day 1, 2, and 3 of the US champs and some international competition. In exactly 2 days, I'll be talking about day 4, which has more finals than the last 3 days combined, as well as all the other international tidbits that are interesting to me. See y'all next time.